has been a growing awareness of the impacts of what eating meat does to the environment. While you might not read about agriculture as much in the headlines about global warming, in fact, agriculture is a quarter of greenhouse gas emissions. So that's even bigger than transportation. That's equivalent to electricity production. Those are the two largest categories of greenhouse gas emissions. Also, agriculture accounts for more emissions than even industry. One of the reasons why agriculture is such a big source of emissions is because of methane. Cows produce methane, and methane is a very, very potent warming gas. Pound for pound, methane has 25 times the warming impact that carbon dioxide does over the course of a century. The reason agricultural emissions are so important is because they are going to increase a lot. Between now and 2050, the world's population is going to go up to 9.6 billion people, and they're going to shift to a more meat-intensive and dairy-intensive diet if current trends continue.
Meat and dairy consumption will go up 70% from 2010 to 2050, and total agricultural emissions will increase 80%. To produce 1 kilo of beef requires 15,000 liters of water. A kilo of eggs takes 3,200 liters of water, and milk 1,000 liters. All of these are much higher than a kilo of vegetables, which takes just 300 liters to produce. So in a world where the climate is warming and water resources are becoming ever more scarce, the water intensity of the food we eat will be even more important. Raising and feeding livestock requires a third of the world's ice-free land. It's not just that the Amazon rainforest is being cleared to make way for farmland, it's also the impact on that land from the pesticides and antibiotics that are part of industrial-scale farming.
If everybody became vegan tomorrow, it would save over 3.1 billion hectares of land. That's the size of the African continent. This is according to a study done at Oxford University. Even though the data is out there, people do not want to be lectured to about what to eat and what not to eat. So a lot of the information that you see about reducing an individual carbon footprint focuses on buying an electric vehicle, insulating your house, putting solar panels on the roof. And while those are all good things, the simplest, cheapest thing to do might actually just be to eat less meat to begin with. While it's still only a small community of people who are in fact vegan, awareness of this issue is really growing, and investors too are taking note.
The City of London is not exactly a hotbed of veganism. While the trendy bits of East London are all about your almond milk cappuccinos, round here near the Bank of England you can barely move for steak restaurants. This place is a bit of a city institution, serving steak and only steak.
And I've got to say, it's delicious.
So the question is, could finance be part of this move away from animal products?
Culturally, in the short term, that's a difficult fit. This place is rammed every day. But if the city's good at anything, it's good at sniffing out lucrative opportunities. And the massive growth of the green bond market, for example, shows us that people are willing to put their money where their mouth is. And the city knows it.
Green bonds are big business, with over $200 billion issued already this year. Investment houses are also piling into sustainable bonds. It's clear that people with cash are willing to put their money to work in a way that oozes virtue.
In January, the New York Stock Exchange will greet what appears to be the first ever vegan exchange-traded fund. This will exclude investments in anything that exploits animals in any way, as well as things like tobacco and arms and other icky stuff that doesn't meet ethical criteria.
In total, the environmental, social and governance-focused ETF market has grown by 500% over the past 5 years. It's still small fry compared to the overall size of the market, but it's definitely growing.
Investment houses know that there's what some describe as a tsunami of demand coming from maturing millennials for environmentally and socially conscious investment products.
This vegan ETF is new and untested, and if this place shows us anything, it's that culturally there's a long way to go.
Being a vegetarian doesn't solve all the problems about factory farming, about the environmental impacts. So I went vegan. Argentine food, not a good place. Steak. Veggie option down here, nothing vegan. This is Venezuelan, pork, beef, We've got some black beans and fried plantains, so there is an option there. Mexican, it's a veggie option, but I just want to have it with cheese. It's just got cheese everywhere. Vietnamese food, tofu. I haven't met anyone who thinks this is as nice as meat. As a vegetarian, forgetting about meat becomes quite easy, but you become very reliant on cheese and eggs. Cheese is delicious. There is no substitute for this cheese. There are vegan cheeses, but I'm going to be honest, they don't smell like this, they don't taste like this. The easiest way to be vegan is just to totally avoid stuff like this and pretend it doesn't exist. Started off being vegan for a month. I'm still going a couple of months down the line. Your first week as a vegan, I found quite tough. You go home and you think, I'll just make a quick omelette, and you're like, can't do that. I'll just fry some halloumi, can't do that. It took me at least a couple of weeks to kind of adjust, to find my feet. There's definitely still a weird thing about being vegan. It does kind of invoke this idea of evangelical people who are going to force you to give up meat, force you to give up cheese, and who probably take themselves a bit seriously. I think it's a lot more flexible than people think, and it isn't like some weird cult. It's still a small minority, and I think that makes it difficult for a politician to say, do anything like impose a meat tax. That would be the most unpopular tax you could think of to punish people for eating bacon. A small number of vegans have pushed the food industry into changing. That's why you see big brand restaurants with vegan options, vegetarian options. It's why you see pop-up places with much more vegan offerings. Gradually the door is being pushed open. Can I honestly say I'll be vegan in a year's time? No, because it takes a bit of work, but it's possible.